In the 1976 movie, The Outlaw Josey Wales, the title character makes a new friend in the character of Lone Watie, who is an aging warrior from the Cherokee tribe. In the 1972 novel, now known as Gone to Texas, that inspired the movie, when Lone Watie introduces himself, Josey Wales recognizes the name and makes an important connection. Josey looked sharply at the Indian. "I recollect. I rode with ye once, and your kinsman, General Stand Watie, crossed the Osage and up into Kansas." General Stand Watie was a real Cherokee chief who became a brigadier general fighting for the Confederate States of America. According to the 2005 book, American Indian Biographies, Stand Watie is also known as Dagataga or Dagadaga, which means he stands on 2 feet, also meaning stands firm. Josey Wales knew something of the history of the Waties. They had lived in the mountains of North Georgia and Alabama. Stand Watie was a prominent chief. Lone was his cousin. When the war between the states had burst over the nation, the Cherokee naturally sided with the Confederacy against the hated government that had deprived him of his mountain home. Some had joined General Sam Cooper, a few were in the elite brigade of Joseph Shelby, but most had followed their leader, General Stand Watie, the only Indian general of the Confederacy. According to the 1995 book, Between Two Fires, American Indians in the Civil War, there were many individual and community reasons for Indian involvement in this largely non-Indian conflict. Indian removal, as the scene from Josey Wales reveals, was the backdrop to American Indian involvement in the war, as much as slavery was for African Americans. Nearly all Indians who participated in the war, North, South, and Trans-Mississippi West, hoped to preserve themselves and their communities from further land loss and removal. Reminiscing about his time fighting alongside his tribe, in the novel he says, "I remember, it was a good fight." Which fight was he talking about? Maybe he meant the entire war. But according to Wikipedia, the Battle of Pea Ridge was the largest that involved the Cherokee tribe, with over 3,000 casualties on both sides of the fight. The battle is described in the 2006 book, The Civil War 100, the stories behind the most influential battles, people, and events in the war between the states. The Battle of Pea Ridge in far northern Arkansas in March 1862 provided the Union its first significant victory of the war. Confederate forces included about 800 Native Americans led by Cherokee Stand Watie. On the western flank, Confederate General Benjamin McCulloch, supported by Native Americans, forced the Federals back. The Union force then counterattacked, forcing the rebels on the western side of the battlefield to withdraw back toward Pea Ridge. According to the 2016 book, The Indian Wars, Watie's Cherokee unit captured a major Union artillery battery and then covered the main body of the Confederate troops while they retreated from the field. From all accounts, the Native American soldiers performed adequately as cavalry and infantry in McCulloch's initial attack. However, when the Union counterattacked with an artillery barrage, most of the Indians, who had never encountered cannon fire, fled the battlefield. Their reputation was further diminished when Union troops later claimed to have discovered that 30 of their soldiers had been mutilated and scalped by the Indian warriors. On the eastern flank, Confederate General Earl Van Dorn also experienced early success before being halted by the Union defenders. By noon, the Confederates were in a disorganized retreat to the northeast, leaving Missouri and northern Arkansas under Union control, which also opened the way for Union control of the West. Maybe Lone Watie meant it was a good fight even though they lost, or maybe he meant a couple of small victories that happened a couple of years later. In 1864, Stand Watie achieved his greatest successes on the field of battle. The capture of the Union ferry steamboat J.R. Williams on June 15, known as the ambush of the steamboat J.R. Williams, and his capture of a major Union supply train at Cabin Creek on September 19, also known as the Second Battle of Cabin Creek. In the movie, the morning after their meeting, Lone Watie burns his top hat and coat, showing he is ready to let go of the past and move on. He tells Josey Wales about the Confederate officers and soldiers who refused to surrender, which was surprising news to Wales. And Lone Watie didn't surrender neither. By then, his cousin had already surrendered. On June 23, 1865, a bow-legged man in tattered Confederate gray, at the head of a small and ragged column of rebel cavalry, rode to a meeting place in Indian Territory. This war-weary aged soldier was Stand Watie, who traveled the dusty road to meet with 2 Union officers about the terms of Watie's surrender. The Cherokee chief handed his sword to the 2 officials and pledged to cease all hostilities against the United States. Meanwhile, in the movie, the 2 new friends made plans to escape the fighting once and for all, at least until they got to Texas. But eventually, with the help of an old friend, Josey Wales succeeded in putting the American Civil War behind him, though there were many more fights to come. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and see links in the description below to watch the outlaw Josey Wales and read Gone to Texas.